Broke for you on 12 News at noon. Jonathan and Reginald Carr will not be resentenced in Sedgwick County. A jury convicted and sentenced the brothers to death in a joint 2002 trial for the murder of 4 people back in December of 2000. In a week-long crime spree, the brothers also killed another woman, for which they were also convicted. After numerous appeals from the state to U.S. Supreme Court, a motion today to resentence the brothers was denied by a Sedgwick County judge. Brandon Stitt was in the courtroom this morning and is live outside of the courthouse with the latest. Brandon?
That's right, Rachel. Jonathan appeared from his death row cell in El Dorado at Sedgwick County District Court in front of Jeffrey Gearing, the district court's head judge. His brother, Reginald, he didn't make an appearance, but he was here with his attorneys. The judge denying that request for a resentence.
State of Kansas against Jonathan Carr, State of Kansas against Reginald Carr.
Jonathan Carr appeared in person. His brother, Reginald Carr, waived his appearance. Attorneys for both brothers argued a motion for resentencing.
There's no articulation by the sentencing judge that there was a sentence imposed for count 2, which is multiple homicides occurring during the same common scheme and plan.
We ask for a separate resentencing in open court so that Mr. Carr can hear whatever this court concludes is the ultimate amount of liability that's been determined by the District Court of Sedgwick County.
Attorneys for the Carrs have appealed several times. In 2014, the Kansas Supreme Court overturned the Carrs' death sentence. But in 2016, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed that decision, sending it back to Kansas. Sedgwick County District Attorney Mark Bennett argued the courts have already affirmed the convictions and sentences, and the motion was an effort to reopen something already decided.
This is an effort to reopen it and have a full-blown hearing again on the merits of convictions that the court has already recognized have already been affirmed. I don't know what legal theory this court would have to readdress, resentence, reassess these convictions the Supreme Court has already passed on.
Judge Gearing agreed.
What we have now is a conviction that's been affirmed by the Supreme Court in both cases, a capital murder sentence that's been imposed, that has been affirmed by the Supreme Court in both cases. I don't think that I have jurisdiction to resentence Mr. Reginald Carr or Jonathan Carr on either case, so the motion will be denied.
And that decision today will also be appealed. It'll be a long list of appeals that are yet to come. We asked DA Bennett when he thinks an execution will happen, and he said it will be long after he's not the district attorney any longer. Mike, Rachel.